Hello my pumpkins! So, today I have a very special video for you guys. We're going to be doing a TCG tier list. This has a lot of inspiration from Main Deck, who has done a TCG tier list a lot larger and more on a larger scale. I'm only ranking 8 games today because I think that any other game that is not on this list is either irrelevant or does not have really a large community or backing behind it, or will not last, etc. So, a couple of the games here I picked are because they are either, for one, everyone knows the names, they're either doing really good, or are just overall very successful. And without further ado, let's start things off. So I actually want to get right into it. Flesh and Blood. So Flesh and Blood, I'm going to make a lot of people angry about this. Flesh and Blood is a B tier game, and in reality it plays like an S tier game, but I really want to explain myself. So I've been trying to get into Flesh and Blood for forever now, and one thing that I've noticed over the 2 years that I've been trying to get into the game since Uprising, one of the biggest problems I've noticed is that Flesh and Blood itself is very hard to get into. And I know they've been doing a lot of good things like armory decks, and even the new decks with Terra and Aurora for starters. But one issue is specifically they had horrible allocation on a lot of these products, like the Terra and Aurora new player decks, and like I think it was like 6 per store, which is really bad. And so that was an issue. And another big thing is the fact that Flesh and Blood, while yes, it is by far the most balanced game, the local scene is really bad. Like most locals is people playing their competitive decks, and oftentimes it's very easy to just lose and not enjoy the game if you're a new player getting into the game. Now the armory decks have made this a lot easier. You can be somewhat competitive, but if you do not have the legendary gear, which is quite expensive, granted you only need to buy it once, but if you don't have it, it is very bad. It feels very bad playing a suboptimal gear, and that's the reason why I just think it's a B tier game. So next up on our list, we have One Piece TCG. I actually am going to rank this C tier or B tier because, for one, I actually don't know much about the game. I've never been a One Piece fan. I have a lot of friends who are, but me personally, it's not really my type of game. I heard a lot of good things about it. I heard how it's sold out and like you cannot pick up any product because of how good it's selling out. But at the same time, I feel like this is one of those games where, unless if you're an anime fan and you really like One Piece, you don't play this game. I heard it's good, but I feel like it really only draws in One Piece fans, and for that reason, I'm going to actually rank it C tier. Next up on our list, we have YuGiOh, and I am going to make a lot of neckbeards mad. YuGiOh is a D tier game, and yes, I said that, it sucks. YuGiOh has always had the problem of Konami. Konami is really bad at managing the game. They always ban things. They always make sure that the game is just miserable to play because, for one, if you go spending a lot of money on a deck, that deck will eventually become irrelevant because they'll always ban the cards that you buy. I do not like this, and I'd rather actually have rotations than that, because while yes, they don't have rotation doesn't matter if you literally ban almost every card and then just make certain decks irrelevant. Now, another big thing about YuGiOh is just the overall competitive scene. I've noticed that for one, the price, but another thing is that the competitive scene is usually also dominated by one-turn kills or combo decks. And for me, as someone who's been playing a lot of other different games that we'll get into soon, YuGiOh just feels like you're playing solitaire against your opponent, and I really do not like that. The next game on our list we're going to talk about, Grand Archive. So I also don't know much about this game as well. It's also not that popular. My LGS carries it, but I don't really know anyone that plays it. We don't really have a scene there. However, I'm going to rank it C tier, but high C tier pushing into B because of the fact that it actually, from what I've seen, it looks really fun, and it actually, from what I've heard, does play very, very well. And this is mainly because of the fact of this mana system. So from what I know, you pretty much put cards down in your hand and they act as like temporary lands. And I think that's very, very interesting because I'm pretty sure you gain them back at the end of the phase. So unlike Magic the Gathering, where you have to draw your lands, this game, all your cards are your lands, you can put them down, and you'll get them back eventually. I really like that mechanic. I think that's very, very smart because, for one, I mean, a lot of the older TCGs are very, very stingy on their mana system. Like, for example, Magic and Pokemon, you have to actually draw into them, and that can be very, very bad. But we'll talk more about that when we get to those games. But from what I know about Grand Archive, I actually really like the idea. It actually is also, I think, really nice. I think it's probably, if you're going to be playing any anime game, I think you probably go to Grand Archive. I think it's definitely one of the more better ones. Granted, for right now, I think I just got to put in C tier because I don't know enough about it. I know some things, but C tier isn't bad. It's just more of I need more information. I think that these C tier games are okay. Now, Magic the Gathering, I actually am also going to put it in B tier behind Flesh and Blood. A lot of people are also going to be mad at me about this. I know I'm always going to get some people mad at me because of my rankings, but Magic the Gathering has had a lot of controversy recently. Obviously, like last year, it was the 30-year anniversary where they were selling $1,000 proxies, but recently they just now announced that they're going to be having alternate universes cards that are going to be based on things like SpongeBob, from what I've heard. And I haven't played Magic in a year, mainly because of the 30-year anniversary made me quit. Plus, also, one thing that I really don't like about Magic is how combo intensive it is, which also again feels like you're playing solitaire. Not as much as Yu-Gi-Oh! There's a lot of interaction because again you can play spells on your opponent's turn, but the biggest thing about Magic I've noticed is it's more of you're trying to beat the game itself by creating these broken combos and not actually your opponent, and I don't really like that. I think that also, at least Commander, it is fun, and that's why I'm putting in B tier, because I think that if you have a good play group, it's very fun. But that being said, I think that also a lot of people are also kind of leaving Magic. They're also not really favorable towards Magic anymore because, for one, I mean, they've been really greedy with the SpongeBob set, all the universes beyond, and it just really doesn't seem like Magic's in a good position, which is very, very sad because a lot of people have been playing this game for 30 years and have a lot of investment, but that being said, it's kind of falling off, which, in all fairness, I think is a good thing because I think if you're a player playing any TCG, I think that you should try a lot of other different games like Flesh and Blood. In fact, I'm actually going to put Flesh and Blood in A tier. I know I said it has its problems, but the game just plays so well, and that's one thing I can never forget about, even though it's so hard to get into the game. The next game we're going to talk about is Pokemon TCG, and I'm going to put that in A tier behind Flesh and Blood. One thing Pokemon has done really good is making it very accessible, very easy to play, and also, despite being an older game that has a mana drawing system, as in you draw your mana resource cards from your deck, like Magic you have to draw your lands, you have to draw your energies, Pokemon fixes this by drawing a shit ton of cards, and I mean a ton. Like, you can go through your entire hand in an entire turn. You can almost go through your deck in an entire turn, and it's just crazy. And I think that the game has been very, very fun. Dusknoir, I believe it was, the one that puts 13 damage on a benched Pokemon, wasn't fun, but I think that's gotten banned. I haven't played Pokemon in a month. From what I've heard, it's gotten banned. But the game still is one of those games where if I'm ever playing in paper, I can just spend $50, get a competitive deck, or buy a league battle deck and have fun. And that's something that really, really matters in a TCG these days, is getting people into the game and actually playing, which is why it's so high. And that's why I'm ranking it A tier. I think it's just still a really, really good game and it holds up. Lorcana. So, Lorcana, I also don't know much about, but I'm actually going to also put it in C tier behind One Piece because, one, the game's not really marketable to me. I think that this game is really only for children. From what I've heard, it's just simpler Magic: The Gathering. And I've actually heard some like gameplay, like the whole inking mechanic is cool, but as in it's like you turn your cards into resources like a lot of these more newer games, which is good. I think that that's a very big step up from these older games like Magic and Pokemon. But for me, again, it's not really my target audience. I think that either the target audience is young kids or Disney adults. Both of those are not me. I'm not a Disney adult. And as a young adult myself, more games like Flesh and Blood, or even like what we're going to be talking about, Star Wars Unlimited, Magic: The Gathering, even Pokemon. These games are a lot more marketable than Disney, which is unfortunate. So, which is why I'm going to put it in the C tier. Finally, we have to talk about our S tier game. I am very biased, and I will not deny that. But Star Wars Unlimited has actually been the game where you need to play. You need to try it out. I think that it is the best TCG to get into. It's relatively cheap. There are some expensive cards, but compared to most of these other games, it's relatively cheap. And one thing that has really changed is the Boba Fett ban. The Boba Fett ban has made a lot of decks very, very accessible and playable, so a lot of budget decks are actually playable now as well, and the meta is just so open. When I saw the SCGCon Columbus happen, it was made up of so many different decks. It was like 8 different decks. It was crazy, and overall, this game has just been impressive. For people who don't know actually much about this game, I will be releasing a video on how to play SWU and everything you need to know getting into SWU. But SWU, Star Wars Unlimited, has just been such an amazing game, and it's so fun. And one of the things that I've really noticed is a game that can make you stick and just have fun while playing it and not just, check your phone is a good game, because a lot of these other games, they have a kind of turn mechanic, whereas Star Wars Unlimited, you have an action and your opponent has an action. So it's like chess, and this really makes you feel like you're never going to check your phone, you're never going to get distracted, because you're always interacting with the game. And I think it also adds a lot of strategy. But that being said, this is going to be the end of this video. Very short video. I just wanted to talk about some of these TCGs. Any TCG that's not on this list, not good. Even like YuGiOh, like it's okay game. It's an okay game. It plays okay. It's just like it's so many issues that I had to put in D tier. I think these C tier games are very, very okay games. If it speaks out to you, you can play them. They're good. You'll have a fun time. Magic: The Gathering is just painfully mid. All these games, they're really good. I think you should try them. I know Flesh and Blood is like one of those exceptions, but I think that it just plays so well. And then Star Wars Unlimited has just been amazing. Now, if you want to see more TCG tier lists or even other types of things, let me know in the comments below. I just wanted this to be a quite short video because I know I haven't really made a video in a long time. College has been busy, but one thing is I'm going to be going on break, so I'll have a lot more time to make videos, and that's what I want to do. I want to focus on Star Wars Unlimited, so I know I'm biased, but again, if you're mad, well, you can be mad. I really don't care. That's the thing, like, this was more of a fun tier list, but yeah, that's going to be it. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Like and subscribe. Peace.